Welcome back to the First and Gold podcast. I am your host, Sam Gold. Happy April, everybody. And that means for the NFL, it's draft month. And as you can see by the title, we have grading the last 10 first overall draft picks from 2015 to 2024. We got our tier list set up from great to solid to okay to not looking good to bust. So those are our 5 categories. And man, you know what? Let's just jump right into it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below what you think was the best draft pick of the last 10 years and what you're looking forward to in this upcoming draft season, because it's a lot of fun. It's always one of my favorite times of the year. But here we go. Let's jump into it. Starting all the way back in 2015, when the Tampa Bay Bucks picked Jameis Winston, quarterback out of Florida State. Now, Jameis, I mean, the farther back we go with these earlier players, we're going to see a lot more history behind them, so it's going to be a lot. Sometimes it's easier, sometimes it's harder to grade them with this amount of history. But for Jameis, it's interesting because a lot of people love him. He's got a great personality. He does take tons of risks on the field, which can result in a lot of fireworks, but also a lot of terrible, terrible plays. Obviously had longevity, and right now he's just your typical backup journeyman, where if you have him on your team, it's a great locker room. And yes, 1 or 2 times a season, he will give you a really, really fun game to watch. But then the other times, he's going to have 4 interceptions. So he's basically turned into our modern day Ryan Fitzpatrick, which isn't necessarily a bad thing. But remember, we're grading just based off of first overall draft picks. So unfortunately, even though I love the guy, I gotta put him at not looking good. I'm not gonna put him at bust, just because he did have a couple decent seasons with the Bucks, and he had some good moments here and there, and he's still in the league. So I believe they went 9-7 and just missed the playoffs in 2016. So that was probably his best season. Everybody remembers in 2019 when he threw for over 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions, which the best part of that entire season was in week 17 against Atlanta, where they went into overtime. And I believe it was to not have a losing record. I believe they were like 7-8 going into that game. And they had the ball first. And I remember turning to my dad and I was like, this is 100% a pick 6 to end the season. And that's exactly what happened. So, just such a Jameis thing to happen. So funny. I love the guy. But yes, as a number 1 overall pick, he's got to be down there. So I'm putting him in the not looking good territory. Jared Goff, solid. Now, he was... We'll see where else I rank these players, because he's actually teetering between great and solid. But obviously everybody knows he was drafted in 2016 to the Rams. It only took him after his rookie season to make the playoffs. He had a great first couple of years after his rookie season, 2017, 2018. Even 2020 was pretty underrated in my opinion. I know in 2019 they missed the playoffs. It was kind of like a Super Bowl slump. But speaking of Super Bowl, they made it in 2018. They got just embarrassed 13-3. But the fact that they made it there in just his 3rd season, I mean, if anybody remembers that 2018 season for the Rams, their offense was absolutely humming the entire season. Jared Goff was throwing dots left and right. 2 games I remember specifically. One, obviously, Chiefs-Rams in primetime. He was amazing in that game. That was a game, as a Chiefs fan, I wasn't even mad that we lost. And against the Vikings, I believe it was like week 4 or 5. If you go back and watch Rams-Vikings from 2018, that legitimately might be the best game Jared Goff has ever played. I've never seen someone throw so many accurate touchdown passes. It was phenomenal. He played 5 seasons for the Rams. After winning a playoff game in 2020, they decided that they're going to make a big swap for Matt Stafford, and it was basically just a quarterback swap with a few picks in there. Goff goes to the Lions. The Lions at this point, such a lowly franchise. I mean, in general, they're a lowly franchise, but they just haven't had a winning season in forever. If we're talking modern day, everybody knows now that Jared Goff has not completely turned around his career, because he was always a solid quarterback. But, I mean, the guy helped the Lions go to their first championship game in like 30 years. Not only that, but, I mean, the Lions haven't even won a playoff game in 30 years. So the fact that Jared Goff is a part of that, he is forever cemented as a Lions legend in that city. Now, they still have a great team. Last year was a little more disappointing come playoff time, but he still had a really, really good season. Things are still looking up. They always have a shot to make the Super Bowl with this roster they have right now. I'm teetering on great, but I think I got to save 1 player or 2 players for that slot that I'm looking at right now. So we'll see what we do with him later on, but overall, Jared Goff even though, yes, he's not still on the team he was drafted with, still a very, very good player. All right, Myles Garrett. There's your first great, already a first ballot Hall of Famer. He was drafted in 2017 by the Browns. He just re-signed with the Browns, the largest contract extension for any defensive player in NFL history. Well-deserved. I mean, the dude, let me just, hold on. Let me take a second and just so I don't get this wrong and look at his total sack numbers. It's insane right now because he's only, 7 years into the league, and this guy's been amazing. He has not had a single-digit sack season except for his rookie season. And he still had 7 sacks his rookie year, which is still very solid. I mean, listen, the Browns, we'll get to Baker Mayfield in a second. Could they have done a lot different in the last 7, 8 years? Basically crafting the organization, yes. But the fact that they've kept Myles Garrett around, he's been an absolute staple for this franchise. He's one of the best players in the entire NFL, and he will continue to be that because just a force to be reckoned with. Over 100 sacks total in his career already. Funny enough, I just looked it up. He doesn't have a touchdown or an interception yet, which I'm kind of surprised about that. Look, man, it's Myles Garrett. If you're a football fan watching this, everybody knows who this is. He deserves to be in the top tier. Baker Mayfield. Now, I'm going to go solid. I'm mostly basing it. If players aren't on the team they were drafted with right now, I am pretty much basing it on how their career has gone so far. Because if I'm just grading the Browns drafting Baker Mayfield at 1 overall, yeah, I would actually almost consider. I wouldn't give it a bust because they won a playoff game, but I would go not looking good because they gave away a guy who is now much better after he left. And the Browns are just squirming, and they should have kept him. So Baker Mayfield himself is his career. He is solid, and I am going to put him behind Jared Goff because obviously Jared Goff has made a championship game and a Super Bowl. But man, talk about a great story arc for his career so far. Came into the Browns in 2018, had a nice rookie season, still missed the playoffs. Had kind of a sophomore slump, but then in 2020 out of nowhere, they just had a great season. Almost beat the Chiefs in Arrowhead in the playoffs. And then kind of like with Jared Goff, Jared Goff did make the playoffs and had a better season before he got traded away. But for Baker Mayfield, he had a lot of injuries and they just didn't end up making the playoffs in 2021. And the Browns just thought it was a good idea to get rid of him, go for Deshaun Watson. We all know how that turned out. But man, I am happy for Baker. He got a lot of shit coming in as a rookie. A lot of people compared him to Johnny Manziel, had off the field issues or whatever. But the dude is humble, and the dude is electric on the field. Yes, he might not be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, but overall, he's got to be in the solid tier. He's taken the Bucs to 2 straight division titles. He's won another playoff game with them. So overall, I like Baker Mayfield, and I think that he is definitely redeeming his career right now in the NFL. All right, Kyler Murray, I'm going to go okay. He hasn't won a playoff game yet. He is still on the Cardinals. He was drafted by the Cardinals in 2019. He's been injured a couple times here and there as well. Obviously, when he's on, he's a very solid quarterback. But he's a little inconsistent, and I just don't see them really making a push in the playoffs with him anymore. And that's not 100% because of him, because the Cardinals, it's the Cardinals. They really just don't know how to run an organization in general. We've almost seen the ceiling with him at this point. I've already seen mid-season trade rumors going around if the Cardinals start off not very good this year. So, I don't know. I still like him. He's obviously talented. He has a lot of nice attributes. And I don't think he's a bust or anything at all. He's still a very solid player. But, or not solid. I guess I'd put him in solid if he was solid. But he's slightly above average. So, yeah, I'll put him in okay because I just can't put him on the same level as Jared Goff and Baker. Joe Burrow, great. You can say all you want about Joe Burrow. Yes, I know that he's been injured 2 out of 5 of his seasons already, and they just went 9-8 and missed the playoffs. But if anybody actually watched the season, they would know this was Joe Burrow's best year statistically. The dude was insane. Just accuracy, leadership, humbleness, clutchness. He's got all the things you want in a franchise quarterback. Look, he gave me one of my least favorite moments in recent history as a Chiefs fan by coming into Arrowhead, coming back from a 21-3 deficit and beating us in our own building to go to the Super Bowl in 2021. Just to do that, now looking at the fact that Mahomes has made 3 straight Super Bowls already puts you in great immediately. The fact that he went to a Super Bowl in his second season after being injured in his first year, it was such a great underdog story. Him and Jamar Chase have just solidified that connection as one of the best in the NFL, if not the best. So, it's Joe Burrow. He's a top 3 quarterback in the NFL right now. The Bengals knew what they were doing. First overall, 2020. they got the guy for the next 10 to 15 years. Easy. That's one of the easiest picks on here. Great tier, for sure. All right, next up, 2021 first overall, Trevor Lawrence. I'm going to put him in okay. I'll put him above Kyler Murray because they've won a playoff game with him. But man, I mean, if you're talking about somebody that was arguably one of the most hyped quarterbacks, him, Caleb Williams, and Andrew Luck of the last 15 seasons, those are the three quarterbacks that have easily been the most hyped coming out of college. And I don't know if it's a mixture of him just being on the Jaguars, which, God, it's just, I feel bad for Trevor Lawrence. Well, not really, because he's just got paid $50 million a year, and you're right, I actually don't feel bad for him. But it's just a mixture of so many things. I don't think he's bad. He was definitely very, very good in the second half of 2022 and the first half of 2023 before he got hurt. But, like, this is going to be a telling season, and it sucks that it is for him because I just don't think they're going to do anything this year. And it's not 100% his fault. I mean, the Jags saw a guy take them to one playoff win. They're like, here, just take all our money. So I don't think the fact that he's getting paid a ton of money shows how much success he's really had, because he really hasn't had that much. He's had one good year. And a lot of people forget they started like 3-6 that year as well. So I'm only putting him above Kyler Murray because they won a playoff game. Would I rather have Kyler Murray as my quarterback? That's up for debate. But that's why they're on the same tier. He's going to go in okay for now. A lot of people want to call him a bust, but no, he's not a full-on bust. I'm sorry. And it's not looking good yet. They need to build some more things up around him on the team, and they have him for a while now, so we'll see. But yeah, Trevor Lawrence, it's been disappointing so far, to say the least. I mean, he's been more hyped than Joe Burrow, than Baker. I'm not going to dog him too much. I'll put him in okay. All right, Travon Walker, I'm also going to put him in the okay tier. Back-to-back Jaguars picks, first overall. This was 2022. I looked up Travon Walker's stats. The last two seasons, he has had 10 sacks. His first season, not as bad. I think he had like 4 or something, 3, which is fine. He's a 10-sack guy. I think pretty much almost everybody but the Jaguars thought Aiden Hutchinson was better, and that's who they should have picked. And so far, everybody was right. I mean, the Lions struck gold with Aiden Hutchinson. If he didn't get hurt last year, he would have had a monster season. And I think that's definitely hurting the resume of Travon Walker a little bit. But also the fact he was picked first overall for a guy that has worse numbers than, let's use George Karlaftis, Chiefs defensive end, for example. I mean, he's around that range. He's just a fine, good, but not great player. I wouldn't put him in solid yet. I think he needs to put together a couple more good seasons. We'll see where he is. I mean, it's harder with these more recent guys because, I mean, he only had 3 years in the league so far, Travon Walker. So I don't want to say too much yet, but yeah, I'll put him in that middle tier as well. Bryce Young. Oh, this is tough. Here's the thing. I know I have the bust category on here, but we're only ranking the last 10, so I don't think I'm going to put anybody in bust. I think the one you could definitely argue, of course, is Jameis, but the only reason I didn't put him in there is because of his longevity and the fact that when he does play, he still has some really good games in there. But with Bryce Young, I think I would have I know he only played 2 seasons, but if he would have had that second half of the season go badly instead of him improving throughout the rest of the year, I would have put him in bust. But I'll put him in not looking good above Jameis because he's still young. Once again, another guy where I wouldn't fully give him the blame, but he also did have tons of opportunities to show a little bit more, especially in his rookie season. He just couldn't. Obviously, everybody knows he got benched midway through last year, came back, played much, much better towards the latter half of the season. So there is a lot of positivity going into this year for Bryce Young and the Panthers. So that's why I'm not going to put him in bust yet. He's still, like 24 years old. So there's still a lot more to do. The Panthers obviously don't have a great roster, so you got to give him another year or two, another chance. So I'll put him in not looking good just because he's not looked good pretty much his whole career. But we'll see what happens. All right, Caleb Williams. I mean, this is obviously the toughest one to grade because you're going off of one season, which ended, 5-12? But I still have tons of hope for Caleb Williams. It's just his rookie year. I mean, the Bears, with the offseason that they've had, I mean, they're going to be one of the most hyped up teams going into this year anyways. So a lot of pressure for Caleb Williams this year. I think if they go out and win 6 games again, then yeah, people are going to start calling him a bust. And rightfully so, because he's got all the tools around him. He's got to get it done. But, man, this is like the hardest one because it's very unfair to grade him this early. I don't want to say not looking good because I did think he actually had some good moments last year. He took care of the ball. There was a big stretch there where he didn't have any interceptions. I think the coaching was the main reason, and the offensive line, of course, but the coaching was the main reason why you didn't see those boomer bust Caleb Williams plays that we were so used to in college. I think he was just afraid of taking more risks, not only because of the play calling, but the fact that he barely had time to throw. He was always running around, but he still made a lot of plays that showed, oh yeah, this still is an ultra talented first overall pick that has a lot of potential. So for that being said, I'll put him at the back of okay for now because I think for a rookie with a bad offensive line and bad coaching, he had an okay season overall. But I'm still hopeful for Caleb Williams, so we'll see. But there you go. That is ranking the last 10 overall, first overall draft picks. Let's go through it one more time. We got the great tier, which is Myles Garrett and Joe Burrow. Solid tier, Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield. The okay tier is Trevor Lawrence, Kyler Murray, Trevon Walker, and Caleb Williams. Not looking good, Bryce Young and Jameis Winston. And then, yeah, we got the bust category, just completely empty. Comment down below what you guys think about our ranking. I'm excited for the draft coming up, and we're going to have so much more draft content for you guys and other NFL content. So don't forget to like and subscribe. Comment down below. Go check out our socials at Instagram and TikTok at First and Gold. I've been Sam Gold. We'll see you guys next video. Goodbye.